Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So you can't always watch all the horror movies out there, sometimes you'll miss a few, and The Witch was one of those movies for me. It's been called one of the best and scariest horror films of the 2010s, and I never got around to watching it. But should it be on that list? Well, we're going to find out, because once again I waited until it was late at night and watched it alone in the dark to see how scary it really is. In case you haven't seen it yet, we follow a Puritan family in 17th century America. They get banished from their town because of their religious beliefs and are forced to leave. Soon after, they settle down with their livestock by this mysterious forest where they try to grow corn. The family consists of William, Catherine, and their 5 kids, the oldest one being their daughter Thomasin. And it doesn't take long for things to go absolutely crazy, as they believe that there is a witch in the nearby forest trying to make their life hell. And there's no time wasted, as it quickly gets to the creepy scene from the trailer, where Thomasin plays peekaboo with her baby brother. They both seem to enjoy it, but after opening her eyes again, the baby is missing. We hear someone rushing into the forest as some of the plants are shaking from being passed. And because The Witch has been called a slow burn, I thought this would be the beginning's climax. A witch steals the baby and that's it. But boy was I wrong. We see a creepy figure in a red hood running through the forest with a baby. Once the mysterious woman is back home, she cuts up the baby and grinds it to mush.
What the f*** is that? What is...
She smears it all over her body, which is one of the rituals giving her supernatural abilities. Now the way we see the witch here, and they do this almost all the time, her face is never really shown. It's always covered with hair, or we only see her from behind while she violently kills her victims. This keeps the mystery behind her alive throughout the whole story. It's not 100% a slow burn movie though. There are a few jump scares, and even though they're not the most intense, they're really effective. One of the most notable ones comes when Caleb, Thomasin's brother, gets lost in the woods. He tries hunting for animals since the family is running out of food, and eventually he comes across an isolated house.
Holy shit, that girl is hot. What? So I knew it. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. F this, man.
Okay, so I honestly don't know why I got so scared here. It's not like an unpredictable moment, but it still startled me because of the creepy atmosphere that's built up. When you see her, you know it's too good to be true, and she's going to turn into something much more sinister and threatening, just like the naked woman in The Shining. Anyways, after this point in the story, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I needed my blankie to get through the rest. And that's because there's an insane amount of tension. A lot of it's implied tension though. There are scenes of people just walking around in the woods, and on its own it might not seem scary, but what makes it creepy is that earlier we saw that there's this witch who will kill them, and this eerie feeling starts making you really paranoid, to the point where very subtle things begin to scare you.
Whoa, okay, that's just my blanket. Oh my god.
The film also does this thing where it'll cut to a different scene with a loud noise. Usually this is a cheap way to scare people, as you're just throwing in a crazy sound effect to wake the audience up. However, here it's consistently used when the dad chops wood.
Oh my god.
And it's not scary for no reason, but in a way it prepares you for the scene, because a lot of this happens when it's dark outside and the father is alone. Also, the increasing loudness of the dad's axe strikes gives you a feel for his growing frustrations throughout the story. Later on, we also see that there might be something strange going on with one of the family's goats, the black one in particular, as the young twins claim that it's communicating with them, meaning that the witch may not be the only one after them. So the night of Caleb's disappearance, Thomasin goes outside into the barn to check on the goats, but while she does this, she hears something coming from outside. She finds Caleb and brings him into the house. They let him rest, but it quickly becomes clear that he's not the same as before he left. The next day, while laying in bed, he begins saying that he feels like there's something inside of him. William then tries using a tool to pry his mouth open to let it out.
What the f...
He throws up an apple, which makes the family think that he's fallen under the witch's spell. You've probably noticed that there are quite a few violent scenes, and these are kinda scary because they happen so abruptly, which shocks you a little bit every time you see it, and it only gets more intense. Thinking that their problems lie with the children, the dad finally has enough and locks them in the barn with the goats. And that night, the kids once again hear something approaching, but this time it climbs directly into the barn.
Oh no, that's her. Oh shit. Ew.
Now I don't know about you guys, but this is probably one of my favorite horror villains that I've seen in a long time. They don't try to make some crazy CGI creature, but instead it's just this old fat lady with dirty hair and grey skin. And it looks real enough that you take it seriously. There are a lot of films that try to create something scary, however they go so over the top to make it threatening. Then it's obviously fake and takes you out of the experience, but this was very effective. It's quite rare that a creature scares me as much as the witch did. The only one coming to mind is the terrifying boogeyman from Sinister. But it's not just the kids in the barn who experience something strange. The mother sees all the children she's lost so far peacefully sitting next to her bed. She talks to Caleb and begins breastfeeding the baby. Caleb says that they'll visit her often. All she needs to do is sign her name into this strange book they brought. But after she does that, we see that her children are not really back. That was only an hallucination to trick her into signing her name into the book. And what's really going on? Well...
What? Oh my god, what the f is going on?
This is one of the moments where you realize that it's an A24 movie, because no other studio would ever show you this. It's so far from anything you'd ever expect, and therefore really stuns you. It's one of the rare occasions where violence is actually scary. The next morning, the father sees that the barn has been forced open, and all but one of the goats are dead. During this scene, there's this moment where the last remaining black goat attacks him, and it made me jolt back so quickly that I hurt myself a little bit.
Oh my god. What the f was that? Dude, that... Oh my god. I hurt like my rib during that scare.
And these are the type of scary scenes you'll see. It's not in-your-face scary like The Conjuring or Insidious. This one is a lot more about building an eerie atmosphere that makes you afraid of almost all noise, out of fear that it's the witch. That is of course if you watch it under the right circumstances. If you watch it with your friends in the middle of the day, I'm sure none of this would scare you. Also, these jump scares, instead of playing a deafening sound effect, they exaggerate the natural sounds that would be in the scene anyway. This gives them a much more realistic feel. I'll continue with the next scares, but I'll issue a quick spoiler warning. In the last video, many of you liked that I kept it vague so that the ending isn't given away, but there were just as many people who wanted me to reveal what happens. So if you don't want to have it spoiled, you can use the chapters in the timeline to skip ahead to the rating. After the dad gets rammed by the black goat, he's seriously injured. It then violently hits him again, which causes him to die as he falls into the giant pile of wood he chopped. The mother then comes out and sees that her husband isn't moving and the twins are gone. With only Thomason there, she assumes that it must have been her. After all, she's the only one not harmed, so the mother tries to kill her, thinking she's the witch.
Oh my god. No, not the crazy mother again.
This scare comes out of nowhere because you assume the worst is over as everything is eerily quiet. The movie is really good at this. It always sets up your expectations and then shatters them and goes in a completely different direction by showing you bizarre and unsettling imagery, each scene being more intense, violent, and twisted than the last. And somehow they successfully do this from start to finish. She strangles Thomason, but eventually she fights back with a knife.
Okay, something's gonna happen here. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
With the mother dead and Thomason being the only one left, since the twins are gone and Caleb died after he had that apple inside him, Thomason takes some time to rest in the house. During the night, however, she wakes up and hears chimes outside. She goes into the barn where she sees the black goat. It whispers to her in English and asks if she wants a much more comfortable life, where she doesn't need to worry about food anymore by becoming a witch. All she needs to do in return is sign her name into the same mysterious book her mother did, thereby giving away her soul to the devil. It turns out that the devil himself was after this family and was disguised as the black goat. Thomason then joins the rest of the witches in the forest and becomes one herself. We then see one of her abilities as she floats up to the sky. Overall, I thought the scariest scene was where the children were locked in the barn, since the father believed they might be evil. It was claustrophobic, creepy, and it left the image of this witch burned into my mind. I'd say if you found Hereditary or Midsommar scary, you're most likely going to think this one's scary too. And this one has a faster pace than both of those. Now when it comes to the scale rating, it gets a little tricky, with The Witch it depends so strongly on how you watch it. If you're home alone at night and you're giving it the benefit of the doubt while you're in the mood to be scared, it can be really creepy. But this is obviously not the type of movie that you watch with your friends while you're all talking. Then of course you won't find it scary. And I understand where the people who wrote that it's boring are coming from. Technically there isn't that much that happens here, but if you're in a situation where the unsettling atmosphere can have its effect on you, it's going to be pretty scary. And that's where I think the massive divide in audience score and critic score comes from. You need to know what you're getting into before watching it, and unless you watched it similarly to me, you can get through it no problem. Is it one of the best horror movies of the last decade? This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say yes. A lot of people said they found it boring and really slow paced, and yeah, they probably watched it differently than me. Still, it can get really scary really fast. But more than that, it's an incredibly unique and refreshing experience that messes with your expectations, and that doesn't come along very often, which makes it worth your time. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Some of you are asking about another How to Beat video. I'm working on something, it's coming soon. Again, I had a lot of fun with this video, so I hope you enjoyed it as well. See you guys in the next one. Bye guys.